What are we doing?
Oh, wow. Got the old 2016 450 Doom back. Last time you seen this bike, we did the tires. Tires are working out good. This time, I want to get the belt checked out. I have 6,000 kilometers on it. I was out for a ride a little bit ago, going up some steep inclines, and smelt a bit of burning belt, a little bit of smoke. So just want to see how the belts are doing.
All right. See if it's glazed or ripped or...
Yeah.
Go check it out. Anyway, it looks exactly the same as mine, and just a series of bolts. Take off, I'm assuming that's the intake somewhere, and then rip it out of there. It should come out without the fender. We'll probably have to take some of these plastics off like mine just to get it out of the way. There's probably a few spots in there that we have to pull tabs and everything like that, but should come out pretty easy. There's like 8 billion of these. I've got them down to a science, so to speak. Now, take off all of your plastics. Oh, you're missing one there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put a bunch in. They're in my car.
I'm assuming this comes up like mine.
Yep.
Okay, there's a screw. We should have some more pull tabs in here. This top one. I really don't have one in there either.
No.
It's saving me a lot of time. Not that this is a long job. Get the old Phillip type. So, your belt started smoking?
Yeah, belt started smoking when I was going up the incline. Headed up to the lookout at the sands. And you can go straight, go over big boulders, or you can take a left and do a bit of a steeper incline. I decided to do the steeper incline.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Why
so.
not?
Well, it's a Can-Am. It'll do it, right? You know, a little 450. I'm like, I got to see what the little 450 can do, and it did it. And it started smoking. It got really hot. I wasn't four-wheel drive. I wasn't low. But I think maybe because there's 6K on it, maybe the belt's getting a little glazed.
That was 2 seconds.
That was 2 sec. Oh.
Or it was 3 hours and we just edited it out.
I think it was 3 hours we edited it out.
Oh, yeah, okay. Should be one. Yeah. Still got that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Somebody has to clean my bike. Hey, Kyle, you want to do a how-to on how to clean a 450?
I'm pretty sure one video is enough to show people how to clean bikes if they so choose to watch that. I think it's the same thing. We gotta figure out a way to, if anyone knows a good way to get mud off an exhaust that's cooked on, let me know, other than a grinder or something.
Yes.
Because we have a bit of mud on this guy, and that is a good question. So how do you clean mud off an exhaust? Steel wire brush?
Steel wire brush, yeah.
Seems aggressive.
Yeah.
If there's like a coating on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is there a chemical? I don't know. We'll let the internet tell it.
Yes. The internet's a great place to go for answers.
I'm supposed to be the how-to guy, but I don't know that one.
So we're going to go out to other people.
Yeah.
How to.
How-to, internet. Answer.
And what would people's opinion be like on putting a rad relocate on this big bad boy?
Oh, I know a guy who can do that.
You know a guy that can do that?
Yeah, I think so. I've
Yeah?
done a few, I think.
You done a couple?
Yeah.
I think we should look into that. People are probably like, why'd you on the 450? Well, why not? This 450 is awesome.
There's plenty of bikes out there that are doing crazy things. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Like, this thing is probably the only reliable Can-Am to exist.
It doesn't have enough power to break anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So answer me this, internet. Why is it that my 1000 has a set of clutches and those same clutches are on a 450? Are they, which way is it? Are they really good for a 450 or really bad for a 1000? Like, why is that a thing? You know, I know there's gearing and a bunch of other stuff involved, but why do we have the same clutches? You would assume the 1000 would have something beefier, or you have the craziest clutches on your bike. I don't know.
I'm just going to go with the crazy clutches on my bike, and it's just awesome. It's going to last forever.
Last forever and ever?
Ever and ever.
You know what I love about videos?
What's that?
Is you just said that, and someday you'll be back in here getting clutches.
Yep. And there'll be all kinds of comments. See, I told you.
And I'm going to take this video, and I'm going to cut it right into the other video where you said I'll never need clutches.
Never need clutches. And then here we are, we'll have the whole bike apart, and we'll be doing clutches on it.
Yeah, I'll never need clutches, he said. And while we're doing this, I'm not actually doing anything to this plastic.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Little pop tab on the inside.
Oh yeah, they're ridiculous.
Annoying. Especially if you have fingers that don't fit into places.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'll take the internet.
Okay.
It looks like the way your cover's made, we have to your intake and exhaust off of it. Because it looks like it's part of the cover. Yeah, it is. On mine, you can take those off because it's part of the other side of the cover. You don't have to take them off. So we'll get this guy, Phillips, and then we'll start. I think these are 8 mils. Rip all those off and see if we can get this cover off with the footwell on it, which we should. The cover is quite a bit smaller than mine, and I can do it on mine. So we'll get to that. So we got the cover off. Like I said, these bands are 7 mil. I'm sure they have a standard equivalent, but 7 mil is kind of awkward. Anyway, you take 7 mil off the intake, the exhaust, those bands come off, and then it's 8 mil bolts all the way around. Most Can-Am owners know what those are because you've probably done about 6,000 belts on different machines. And once you've got that off, you're exposed to your clutch. We've got a few spots with rips. It's starting to ripple, and it has a glaze spot on it. Yeah, there's some rips and stuff in it, so at best this might be a bush belt that'll get them home, so we'll keep that. There's plenty of dust and stuff we have to clean out of here. This gasket needs some grease and stuff. It's seen some abuse for sure, but we'll clean it all up. We'll get a new belt. We got to run to Can-Am because I can't find my secondary bolt. Not a big deal. And then we'll be good to go. What's neat about these little 450 mono pistons is the starter and everything is through here on the crank on this side. It's just a interesting little side note that I don't experience on the 1000. It's kind of cool. Looks like a bit of a pain if you have to change your starter, but not so bad. I like it. But yeah, it is interesting that he has the same clutches on this bike than I do on mine. We might have to take a look at some weights and stuff on his. We'll run it when they get the new belt on and just see how it's actuating, but some of these, he's got a little bit of wear on them. But that's mostly because of dust and grime and stuff in here while it's being thrown around. It's quite filthy. But we'll have them all sorted out. He'll be good to go in no time, and yeah, right on. Good to go. So we had to run to the store to go get our $25 bolt. Don't get me wrong, you could definitely make one of these if you wanted to. It's pretty simple, but this releases your secondary. I had one, don't know where it is, so I got another one. And you basically look at your secondary, and one of them will be threaded, and you literally just plop this guy in, and eventually it'll separate your secondary. You can rip the belt off, take 2 seconds, put the new belt on, but in between we're going to clean these clutches and probably take a look at the insides and see how pitted they are or anything like that. But it's especially important to do just because all of your weights and everything on your primary, you can see it getting worn out, and that's dust. And well, there's general wear, that's fine, but the dust speeds this process up quite a bit. So yeah, we'll clean them to the best of our ability anyway, and then we'll get to doing the maintenance on the cover. Cleaning the seal, we got to clean the inside of the cover. We actually found a rock, side note, inside, what would this be? The exhaust. So a rock must have bounced around in here somehow and got into his exhaust for a CVT, and I can't, you can see this thing's been bouncing around. I'm not making this up. This was actually in his secondary pipe, which could have been catastrophic if it weren't for it being lodged into the pipe. So I don't know what to say about that. This isn't something you should be looking for because that shouldn't happen, but it did. So That's interesting. He could have been spending some serious money on clutches if this let go, but you can actually see it's been rolling around in there. It's all worn out and shiny on parts of it. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And we'll separate this, get the belt off, clean it up. So those were absolutely filthy. We've got them pretty cleaned up now, and we inspected the sheaths, and there's no major pitting or any downfalls like that. The Sprague clutch or the one-way clutch is working really well. So that's your engine brake for those who want to know. Everything's looking good. We have a new belt to throw on here. We'll do that. Throw it on, pull out the bolt, and that'll be good to go. We'll do some testing just to make sure everything's working well with the cover off, and then we have to wash this out and then clean the gasket and put some new grease on that, and it's just time to reassemble. That's it. Good. Sounds like you've got some clutch work to do though. So the weights are throwing and everything, but they're a little worn out for sure. So in the not too distant future, there's going to be some primary clutch work anyway. But you can see the original wear I was talking about. There's some things to take a look at in here, make sure all the little bushings and all that and the weights are good. They're clacking away pretty bad, so we'll see. We'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, so we cleaned up the inside of all the gunk and residue and belt dust and everything else. We washed up the seal as best we could. We're just going to use some general purpose, multi-purpose valve plex, whatever. Not a sponsor, just grease. Take some of that and just ever so lightly put it all around. I'm not even showing you. All right, just a little bit, and just make sure that's nice and lubed up. Get a good seal. It's really important on these so you don't let water in. Well, and dust too, I guess. But that's what we're doing next, and then we're going to fight and struggle to line everything up, get it in there, and do a jaunt around the yard or whatever. Make sure everything's happy and good to go. And there it is. That's a belt change on a 450L. The clutches are pretty well the same for all Gen 2s. I don't know about Gen 1, but same clutches that are on my bike, which is mildly concerning. But no, yeah. Anyway, you guys know what I think. You watched the review, but yeah. So we'll get to that, and then we'll just go for a little ride probably. Right on. And with the magic of editing and post-op, and there we have it. It actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I've done a few of them before. There's a lot of trouble spots with like trying to get it on. It's just because I skipped a step of taking the whole bottom plate out. If you want to do this perfect, then I guess you could, but you can get away with it otherwise. But you got to watch out for these stock clamps. When they get hot and tired and dusty and dirty, they snap so easily. So just be gentle, no power tools. When you're putting in these guys here, make sure not to cross thread them and put some anti-seize on them. Because if you cross thread them, you're going to have a hell of a time, especially on this machine because it's not a plastic backing, it's the actual block. So be gentle. And once you've got all the tubes on, just make sure your gasket is all lined up all the way through. I just run my hand around it and then look at each hole and make sure I can see through to the block. And we put some grease on that. Everything's good to go. We're just gonna slap some plastics on it and begin the break-in of the new belt. Try not to hot spot it or anything like that. Now he's got a bush belt if he needs it. It will get him home, but I wouldn't trust it. And we'll start with putting some plastics on. I think you guys know what that's all about, so I don't have to explain that. And yeah, right on, right, that's good.